I got asked a interesting question here um, by this very curious lady from France. Asked me a question, and so I think I'll answer it because it's a good question. And gosh, no, we were joking around before the show started, and I'm not gonna say what we said. Yeah, that's personal, but it come down to the show. Yeah, talking about the show, and I said, well, if you know so much, tell me what I should be talking about tonight. I said. So she gave me a topic. And it's a good one, yeah. It's a really good topic. I have talked about these things before, but it's always nice to uh, talk about them again, yeah. And because it's this particular topic is interesting. It, people um, like to talk about this thing, whether they want to admit it or not. And so I thought, okay, well, it's a good idea. So I'll go ahead and talk about. Normally, I talk about this around Valentine's Day or um, other similar kind of um, days. Yeah, and it's a good topic, and it's about um, in the ancient times role. What is the woman's role in ancient society? It's a good question because mostly everybody when they think of before the reservation, well, the image that comes to most people's minds is Lakota guy sitting on a horse and hunting buffalo or going to battle against the enemy tribes or you know things like that. And the only time people think about okay, what about the women though? It's usually the women are sitting around a teepee and tanning buffalo hides and cooking, and they're with the children, and it's this is not 100% true. Yeah, because you heard me talking about what happened on the reservation at the beginning of the reservation during the late 1800s, early 1900s. You heard me talking about that and how we really lost our ancient perspective, and that now we think in terms of mm, the modern way. Yeah. Yesterday I did a really big explanation about how you can tell the difference. Is that in ancient times people believed in this and that and the other. Yeah, at least three basic uh, perspectives, or uh, yeah, something like that. And today, the Western society is only this and that. Yeah, and people only see things as this or that. If it's not this, then it's that. Do you see what I mean? And then the danger there is that people have the tendency to say which one is better. That's the whichever one is better. I'm gonna call that the good one. And see, now it's creating this tension, unhealthy dissonance, this of now trying to be better than whatever, and elevating yourself above others. This violates Lakota virtue of humility. Wahwala. Yeah? So um, today, most native people think like this too. They only think in terms of this and that because, like I said, because of that Christian brainwashing experience that happened on the reservation. And today, most natives are Christian or they're Christian influenced. Yeah, and that's what I was explaining before. So, in this concept or this perspective of looking at everything in just two ways, yeah, this and that. People think that this is the complete picture. They think if it's not this, then it's that. It's only got two uh, perspectives, two views, and like I said, the tendency is to make those two views oppose each other by saying your view is better than the others. That's what I was talking about. That's duality. Today, most Indian people are dualistic. And here's the example. You're going to find the Christian Indians saying our society is patriarchal. And those who are trying to be traditional, they will say, no, we're matriarchal. That, see, it's just two options. But remember what I said, in ancient Lakota society, it says that there's at least three options. So the truth is, we were not patriarchal. We were not matriarchal. We were something different. Okay? That's the ancient way. But because of this Christianizing on the reservation, the boarding school experience, because of those experiences, we don't think like that anymore. So now we have the tendency to say if it's not patriarchal, then it must be matriarchal. See, it's only two. It's very limited, and it's disrespectful too. To say if you're not with me, then you're against me. If you're not good, then you're bad. And that's not true. Nature is not this way. So because of this, when people, even Indian people, when they think about the past, they see the men as warriors and protectors and hunters. It's a very macho image. And and likewise, the lot of young men today are saying things like, yeah, when you're a warrior, you have no fear, you fear nothing, and you have no weaknesses. This is bullshit. That's machismo. That's not being a warrior. Because, like I said yesterday was a really good show. I'm really proud of my show yesterday. Yeah? I think I went almost 2 hours nonstop talking. It was really a good one. I really like that. Uh, but what I explained there yesterday is that that's we didn't because there's at least three perspectives. Weaknesses are not seen in a bad way. Weaknesses can show you where to improve, what to learn. And anytime you learn, even if it's learning how not to do something, that's valuable. So weaknesses have a value. It's a high value. That's the ancient way. But today's Indians say, no, weaknesses are bad. You cannot have weaknesses if you want to be a warrior. That's bullshit. And that's not being a warrior. A warrior is both male and female, because in the ancient times there were female warrior societies among the Lakota people. People don't want to talk about that because, uh, for one thing, they don't know about it. Um, and the anthropologists, they don't want to write about it because it makes America look really dumb. It makes America look really stupid. So they didn't want to write about that. But in our stories, they exist. Yeah, we did have women warrior societies. And they were just as powerful and just as important as the men warrior societies. See, remember, our ancient way is this, that, and the other. Three components. Neither one more important than the other. They're all important. They're all valuable. Yeah, but because of this experience of the Christianization of the reservation and the boarding school experience, we lost one of those three perspectives. And now we're dualistic because we only see two. So now you have Indians saying, even old Indians are saying, yeah, we're matriarchal, and some are saying, no, we're patriarchal. But they don't realize that both of them are wrong. We were neither one. But they don't know that because of this brainwashing that happened on the reservations. This is why when they draw paintings or whatever, you always see the men in the warrior position, riding the horse and hunting the buffalo, going to battle, and you see the woman as taking care of the children, cooking, and are always around the teepee, tanning buffalo hides. And this is not true. This is Christian influenced. Because in the Bible, first page of the Bible, it says, and God gave man dominion over the earth, over the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and the fishes in the ocean, and yeah, over plants, yeah, over women, and thus over children. So this gives a patriarchal system. And because of this, in this kind of thinking, the woman must always stay home. She must cook, keep the house clean, and take care of the kids, while the man does the job to support the family. This is a Christian influenced thing, and it's coming from the Bible. And remember, 4 days ago, I did a really good show proving that the Bible was never meant to exist. That means this whole idea is man-made. It favors the man. In religion, it's a sin for a woman to have an orgasm. No matter what religion it is. Today, everybody gets down on the Muslim extremist who cut off the clitoris of little girls. Well, Christians, they don't necessarily do that, but they're basically the Christian teaching for girls is that they must do what their man says. Yeah, that they must please their man, and when the man is done, you know, having sex with the woman, then that's the end of the sex. And if she has an orgasm, this is a sin because she should not be receiving pleasure like he is receiving pleasure. That sex serves the man and not the woman. So if a woman has an orgasm, this is a sin. So her clitoris is like considered like the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Yeah, you're not supposed to touch it. People don't get that. That's in the Bible when it's talking about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Okay, and it's talking about the snake, the serpent that tempts Eve to eat a fruit from the tree of knowledge. See, they're not supposed to eat that, yeah. And there's two trees in the Garden of Eden. One is the tree of knowledge, and the other one is the tree of eternal life. And they were told not to eat from the tree of knowledge. God tells them not to eat from the tree of knowledge, and so that they stay away from it. But the serpent tempts Eve to partake of that tree because he says the fruit is really good. And when she offers it to Adam, he eats it and he enjoys it too. Now, everybody thinks this is some kind of a fruit. This story is symbolical. It's not about a tree, okay? It's a symbolical story. And the symbolism is it has to do with um, the power of women. And that when a woman has power, this is a bad thing. And the orgasm is part of this. See, this is a patriarchal system. It's saying that women are the lesser creation, and as a result, they should not have orgasms. So this is what this story is talking about too. It's not just eating an apple. I don't even know why people say it's an apple. Yeah, because it isn't. And it's not. Doesn't even have to do it. It's symbolical knowledge. Yeah, it's symbolical. It's the story is really symbolical. But what the story is saying is that it's basically putting women in the role that they must serve their man. That she's under him. She's subservient. She's not as smart as him. This is all coming from that story. So on the reservation, when we became Christianized, that same mentality started to enter the Lakota society too. So now you had uh, men acting more in the patriarchal way. So in the early days of the reservation, women um, were degraded. Yeah, they were downgraded. Before the reservation, neither side said they were better than the other. But when the reservation period started and we became Christians, because of that, men started to elevate themselves above women and they felt they could do whatever they want. So, for example, in my grandmother's time, my mother's mother, she said that, when a man and woman gets married, sometimes the man wanders. Yeah, sometimes he might go be with another woman and have sex with her. And she said that's okay. He's he's still kind of learning. She said, so it's okay when a man whores around. Basically, that's what my grandmother was saying. This is not the traditional way. But see, Indians were becoming Christians, so they were starting to come up with these kind of thinking. The thinking on the reservation was changing. So in Lakota society in the early 1900s, if a man wanted to go fuck another woman, it was considered okay. And the wife just put up with it. Or sometimes the wife would go after him and bring him home. That's ridiculous. That's not the ancient way. But we learned that way. We became Christian brainwashed. So because of this way of this because let me say it different, because of this brainwashing that happened today, when people talk about men in Lakota society, they elevate them like, oh, they're the warriors, they're the protectors, they are the hunters, and all this kind of thing. And the women stay home, take care of the children, cook, clean house, and that's their role. See, that is not true. This kind of thinking is coming from a Christian perspective. This is not the Lakota perspective. Now, again, I'm going to say this again, that we have stories. Like, for example, I think it was Hohoju Lakota people. They live on Shan River today. There's four. Uh, Originally, there's 7 Lakota groups. Okay, 4 of those groups today live on Shan River Sioux Reservation. One of them is called Hohoju. People incorrectly call it Minikoju today, and that's incorrect. The correct name is Hohoju. So in books you see Minikanju, yeah, and this is incorrect. It's Hohoju. Among this group, they had 2 women warrior societies along with the men. Now, what's that telling you? If there were 2 women warrior societies in this group, that means not all women fit that stereotypical image of, oh, they're at home taking care of the children, cooking, tanning buffalo hides. That not all women did that. That there were women who did other things too. So when you're talking about, okay, what's the traditional role of a woman in ancient Lakota society? It's huge. Some of them were homemakers. This is true. Yeah, they did stay home. They did do the cooking and the cleaning and the taking care of the children and things like that. But some of them were warriors. And these women, they weren't lesbians. They were women, but they were warriors. So this is saying that in the ancient time, a woman could be whatever she wanted to be. Yeah. So this also means that in the councils, because in traditional tribal government in Lakota society, there's several councils. There's no one leader of the group. So there's no president of the whatever tribe and president of that tribe. They didn't have that. It was a council. And there's several councils. There's not just one. Excuse me. So, if some of the women had formed into warrior societies, this also means some of the women were in the government too. And this is what people, they can't accept that. Even Lakota people today, they cannot accept the fact that in ancient times, there were some women that were in the government too. They can't accept that. Do you know why? It's because of that Christian brainwashing that happened at the beginning of the reservation. That's why I always talk about that every day. That really changed our way of thinking. So the truth is that in the ancient time before white people came, there were women leaders too. So we had men leaders and women leaders. We had men warriors and women warriors. And it goes the other way too. We had women staying at home and cleaning and helping with the children, but we also had men doing that too. Remember what I said? We're not matriarchal, we're not patriarchal, we're something different. Yeah? And there is a book that talks about this. Yeah, it was done in the 19 when was it? It's early days of the reservation. They did this study, and and the government, the American government, tried to hide it because it made America look really bad. Because remember, in American history, women couldn't vote. In the beginning of the United States, women could not vote. Women could not have jobs. Women were only supposed to, have kids, or if they had jobs, they could be a nurse, maybe a teacher, but never somebody important. Never a doctor. Yeah? And women were considered property of the husband. She took his last name. See what I mean? But in ancient Lakota society, the man has a name and the woman has a name. And that's always the way it's going to be, unless they give it away. Like, for example, when they become grandparents, sometimes they give their name away to one of their grandchildren. But the man never takes the woman's name, his wife's name, and the wife never takes the husband's name. That's not even important. That's coming from the Bible. That's that has to do with the ownership of women. Yeah? But in ancient times, it was not that way. So when this anthropologists were watching this, they were seeing that, geez, look at that. The women have property. That's the home. The home is the property of the woman. She's the law. Yeah. But they saw women warriors too, and they saw women leaders as well, along with men leaders. We had them both. And when they wrote this down, yeah, the Washington D.C. says, "Oh, we cannot publish this because it makes the Lakota people look very, very enlightened, and it makes America look very, very backwards." Yeah. So in the ancient time, a woman could be whatever she wanted, just like the man. Because sometimes men stayed home because they were good at it. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah? You do what you're good at, and it doesn't matter. Yeah? So in ancient Lakota society, there's no such thing as a man's job or a woman's job. That doesn't exist. You do what you're good at. And some of these women were good hunters. Yeah? And some of these men were good with making things with their hands. It doesn't matter. So, in one of these early anthropologist books, he called our society unilineal. Because sometimes it seems Like it goes towards the man, and the other times it seems to go towards the woman. But when you put the whole thing together, it doesn't fit either side. So he said, "Wow, the Lakota societies is different, a whole different thing. There's not many tribes this way. There's a lot of tribes that are matriarchal in America, in North America. In fact, I think most native people are matriarchal. Yeah? But in the Lakota world, we were not matriarchal, but we're not patriarchal either. We were a third thing. And that's probably what made our society really, really powerful back then. Yeah. So there wasn't these what do you call it? Uh, I already said it before, but I don't know if there's another name for it, where it's like, oh, this you're a woman, so this is what you're supposed to do. You're a man, so this is what you're supposed to do. See, we didn't have that thinking in the ancient time. Yeah. So now imagine what comes along with that too. Imagine what comes along with that. If a woman is allowed to be a warrior, that really says something about that society. That society is really enlightened. When a woman can be a warrior and a man chooses to stay home and do, he is a really really good cook. It's just natural. It's okay because people want to have a good meal. Yeah, so if he's a good cook, then heck, put him in that position. Why not? What's the problem? It's what he does. So our society was very open in the ancient time. Yeah, we considered everything a relative. We were more accepting than other tribes were. We even had a ceremony for that. It's called hunka or hunkapi. It's the same thing. They just call it a little bit different names. It's the same ceremony. So anyway, so this is just the foundation, okay, that I'm saying here. And now we build on that, okay? So when you have a society where women can be whatever they want to be, that is one hell of a society. It shows you that the men view the women in a very healthy way. And what this means is that both sides, the man and the woman, are emotionally highly developed. And along with that comes sexuality, the sexual knowledge. Yeah, this we have stories on this. Yeah, and it again it goes back to this concept: reality begins within. And so what this means is to have a good reality, you have to have a good within. Yeah, you have to be healthy inside, and that means emotionally. So this is how our society was. That's why I'm always talking about this on this show. Emotional healthiness. That's what we had. Today, that's what we don't have. Because remember, again I say it, in ancient times it was this, that, and the other. But today it's just this and that. And even then, they only accept one side. That means they reject two. Out of three, they reject two perspectives. That's what I was saying yesterday. Yeah. So when you're emotionally developed, you can see the third perspective. Yeah, and so this is why it was not a problem. If a woman chose to be a warrior, that's not a problem. Then she receives that training, same as the guys. Yeah, that's her talent. She's good at it. So we were probably one of the very few tribes in North America that had women warriors. Yeah, that shows a very highly developed society that could that allowed that to happen. But that was a good thing. It worked. So if a society, I'm saying this a second time because it's important, yeah. If a society can allow women to be warriors and to go to battle, to go hunting, that means they value the women in a very healthy way. And that also means the sexuality is going to be very, very advanced. Because let's take a look at the Christian view, okay? Remember what I said. In the Christian view, the man is more important than the woman, and the woman should not be allowed to have an orgasm. It's pretty wicked, yeah? So that means the sexuality um, is lopsided and it's unhealthy. Yeah, the sexuality in a dualistic society, that's a society that believes in good versus evil, and Christianity falls under that. In that kind of society, the sexuality is only going to favor one gender, and that's unhealthy. So that means the the subservient gender should not enjoy sex. That the subservient gender just needs to lay there and let it happen. And in Christian societies, that's what they teach their girls. Yeah, just lay there and let your man do his business. He'll be done in a few minutes, and then it'll be all over. Really that's what some mothers actually teach their girls. Just lay there and let him. It's gonna be uncomfortable in the beginning, but just think of something else, and then he's done. He's gonna be done in a few minutes anyway. Then it's all over, and then he's gonna go to sleep. And then it's over. You can go clean yourself or whatever and go to sleep, and that's all you have to do. These are women that say this to their daughters. This is an unhealthy sexuality. Huh? Now, remember, again, that's when a society favors one gender over the other. But when you look at the ancient Lakota society, and the society is saying that it's good when women can be warriors, this is a good thing. And when a man is doing making clothes and is a good cook and stuff like that, that's a good thing too. If that's what he's good at, then that's what he should do. There's nothing wrong with that. This is a society that thinks like that is really highly emotionally developed. And that's how our ancient society was. So along with that is sexual development too. That this is a sacred thing, it's a beautiful thing to be enjoyed, to be nurtured, and not abused. It can't be just physical. See, in the Christian dualistic societies, like I said, it only favors the man. It's saying that only the man needs to enjoy it. So it's not spiritual. It's not emotional. It's only physical. But in the ancient society, remember, I like saying this because I'm gonna say it again. In our ancient society, we had women warriors and we had men that stayed at home, but they still worked because that's what they were good at. To allow this to happen, to perpetuate this to happen, requires high emotional development. And along with high let me say it again. And along with high emotional development comes a very healthy sexuality in which the sex is not just physical, but it's emotional for both people. It's spiritual for both people. So, sex in the ancient society was way more than what we know today. That's the ancient way. See, it was better back then. And to show you that it wasn't just physical, in the ancient times, a woman, um, the man values the marriage. Yeah, the marriage does not just serve him; it serves the woman too. It serves both of them. He has a great respect for his woman. These are the things that you learn when you're growing up. Yeah, when you're a young man, you start to learn about what it means to be a man, about what it means to be a father, a husband. You learn that from the other men, and it's a healthy education. Women are learning, the young girls are learning the same thing from the women too. So they have a respect for each other. Yeah, they want, when they find the love, they want to be with that person, and with this whole way of thinking of living in the present moment so that they can enjoy the marriage or the union as much as possible. That also means it has to be good for both sides. So the sex has to be satisfying to both the man and especially the woman. So it cannot be just physical. When it's this way, the man, he wants his woman to be happy, to be healthy. So at the maximum, he will they will just have 3 children. And these children will be at least 2 years apart. Because in the ancient society, we traveled a lot. Yeah? We had the teepees had to be taken down fast, and everybody packed in a matter of minutes. And we're traveling to a new campsite. So we're always on the move. We're following the buffalo herds. So it's not good if a woman has 10 kids. You see what I mean? So in the ancient times, the men really, like I said, they really valued the marriage, and they wanted their wives to be happy and not overworked. So you don't get a woman pregnant every 9 months. That's what I'm saying. So this means they were highly emotionally developed. But in the Christian world, let's go back to the Christian world. In the Christian world, it's saying only the man should be satisfied. And what this is saying is that sex is only a physical thing. And it should only be pleasing to the man. And that the woman's role in sex is only to get pregnant. And then they come up with this idea that the more children they have, the better chance they have in getting to heaven, in getting into heaven. See, this is all favoring the man. So the poor woman, every 9 months, she's delivering a baby. She's having a baby. And you look at these families, they got 10, 12, 15, 18 kids. It's crazy. So it's only us in the Christian way, sex is only physical. Yeah, it's only physical. And it should only be pleasing to the man. And that the only purpose it serves the woman is to get pregnant. And the more times she gets pregnant, she's increasing her chances of getting into heaven. This is all written by men. So the men are telling the woman what they should be happy about. The men are defining happiness for the women in a dualistic society. And you know, in ancient times, there were societies that were the opposite. In one of these Russian Baltic states, which one was it called? I forget which one, Kazakhstan or something like that. In one of those countries, they found archaeologists in the 1970s found a very ancient site that was several thousand years old, and they found evidence that this society was uh, extreme matriarchal, that it was mostly women in this site. And from what they could gather, the men were slaves. So it's just the opposite of Christianity. Yeah. And it didn't work either. Yeah. So when it favors one gender, it doesn't work. That's interesting. Yeah. Um, so that's an example of something the opposite. So, um, so in the Lakota way, the ancient way, like I said, we're not matriarchal, we're not patriarchal, we're something completely different. And in that society, women can be what they want to be, and so can men. If a man wants to be a cook because he's good at it, well, that's what they let him be. Yeah, if that's what he wants, that's what he's good at, then that's what he should do. That's how our society was in those days. So when you can think like that, and when you learn that the man only impregnated his wife 3 times, this shows you that he had respect for his woman. It shows you that he wanted his woman to be happy, and that includes he wanted his woman to enjoy the sex because the power of women is sacred. And if she can enjoy the sex, this is a sacred thing. She has the power of creation. So she should enjoy it. That's the ancient way. So that means a man has to learn how to do that. Yeah? I'm laughing because today most men are not capable of that. They just want to satisfy themselves and be done with it, and that's it. Yeah? So it's a very closed-minded way today, and that includes among Indian people too. Since most Indians are Christian or Christian influenced, that also means they regard sex in the same way as Christians do, that it should only serve the man. That's not, they're not being like our ancestors, yeah? Today, most of us are not being like our ancestors. So in the ancient time, the woman's role could be whatever she wanted to be. And concerning sexual relations, that's very important. But to be good at this, you have to be emotionally healthy. Because if you're not emotionally healthy, men develop inferiority complexes because they get scared of the women. The women, when they have orgasm, is very, very powerful. And when the man cannot help that to come to pass, then he starts thinking that there's something wrong with her. He blames her. Yeah, and this is where we're heading down the Christian road, where Christians do not want their women to have orgasms. See how this works? So this is the ancient way. Now, a lot of people don't know this, like I said, but a lot of people don't know Lakota Star knowledge either. But this all fits under that. Excuse me. So for this to happen, that means they have to learn about it. So one time you heard me talking about Tioshpaye on this show. And Tioshpaye, let me explain it as fast as I can. Tioshpaye comes from two words. T means to live, yeah, to live at, yeah, where you live. T, yeah, I live in Berlin. Berlin, LYT. That's how I say that in Lakota. Okay, that's what T comes from. And Oshpaye is a group of people. Yeah, it's a group of people who have something in common. Most of this group will be relatives, okay? But there's going to be some others included that are not relatives, but they share something in common. That's Oshpaye. You put that together, you get Tioshpaye, okay? Now, this is the way it is. Your mother and her sisters are all your mothers, and they're all equally important. The partners of these women are your fathers, and they're all equally important too. The children of all these unions are your brothers and sisters. Excuse me. Your mother's brothers are your uncles. Their wives or their partners are your aunts, and their children are your cousins. Now that's your mom's side. Now let's go to your father's side. Your father and his brothers are all your fathers, and their partners are your other mothers, and their children are your other brothers and sisters. All mothers, all fathers are equally important. So any one of these mothers or fathers can teach you something. So the community is raising the child. The village is raising the child. That's Tioshpai. Yeah. Forgot something. Your father's sisters are your aunts, and their partners are your other uncles, and their children are your cousins, your other cousins. That's how it works. That's a Tioshpai family organization. Excuse me. We get this from the Buffalo people. Yeah, the Buffalo organized this way. And so we saw that and we saw how it works, and it works really good. So that's why we use it too. It's the same structure that the buffalo have. Yeah. Long story explains that humans and buffalo evolve from the same creature. That's why. So, um, okay. So in the Tioshpai, they watch the children and they see, they start to recognize the talent. Yeah, where the talent lies, and then the older people who have that same talent take those children, and at a certain time of the day, could be any time because we're not linear people, so could be any time, and they start learning. They start talking about it. They help the children to develop their talents. So they notice that, hey, this this guy is kind of doing girl things. Let's watch him and see what is this. Nobody makes fun of him. Yeah, they just know that, oh, he's not doing what the other boys are doing. Okay, let's keep an eye on him and see if this is real or if he's just act. Yeah, because sometimes it's a phase. Yeah, some boys play with dolls when they're little, but when they grow up, they do other things. Yeah, and some boys play with dolls, and well, they're kind of feminine the whole time, the rest of their lives. So that's why they watch them to see if it's just a phase or if this is permanent. And there's nothing bad. If it's permanent, there's nothing bad. Okay? There's nothing wrong with it. So they say, oh, hey, this guy, I bet you anything he's going to be a good cook. Let's watch him. And they watch him, and he hangs around the women. Yeah? He's watching the women. He's watching them prepare the food. He's watching them, sew things. And he starts to learn. And he gets good at it. So they say, okay, we'll put him with that group, with that society. He's good at it. So let him be. They don't make fun of him because our society is not dualistic. We're not patriarchal, we're not matriarchal, we're something different. So if a boy is good at doing these things, then that's his talent, and he should be allowed to develop that so he gets really good at it. It doesn't matter. And then they might notice maybe some of the girls are really good in doing the same things that some of the boys are doing. So they watch them. And then they think, huh, these girls they're watching the men, how to make bows and arrows and spears and things like that. Okay, we'll put the girls with those guys. They're going to be warriors. See? So now they're receiving their education. So this is why we had women warriors, and this is why we had males who were really good at cooking and making clothes and things like that. There was nothing wrong with it. If that's what they're good at, then that's what they should do. That's how our thinking was. It's very advanced compared to other tribes. Not saying we're better, okay? I'm not saying we're better. I'm just saying our way was very advanced. Now, during this time, the girls are separated together because this has this part of their education. It has they don't focus on the talent. Okay, part of their education focuses on their talent, and then there's another part of their education that focuses on the gender. Okay, so the gender education, this is where they learn about being a man and a woman. And this is where the guys learn about sexuality. And this is a nice thing, but it has to be nice for the girl too. Because when it's good for both the man and the woman, then the result is going to be amazing. And the society becomes amazing because of that. So they receive their training. And part, like I said, for guys, part of that is they have to learn that it's important. The woman is very important. So the sex has to be pleasing to both sides. And that also that they're going to get pregnant from sex. They learn that from sex they get pregnant. And they see the pregnant ladies now, and it's hard for them. This is why in the Tioshpae everybody helps. Yeah, everybody helps. But you see, they see that it's hard work to raise children. So a woman should not be having a baby every year. That's what they learn. Yeah. Give your wife a break. Yeah. And then only three. Only three. Maybe four, but don't go over that. Yeah. The woman has to be strong. And if you keep her pregnant all the time, that she might get too weak. So the families need to be small. Yeah, and this makes for a happier marriage too. And the man is taught, that when he's home, when he's not hunting, that he's got to be with the children. So this is why they teach him. So that's why men are teaching children too. It's not just the women who teach the children. Yeah, it's the men too. Like I said, some of them take the children according to their talents. And on the other days, it's a gender education. So you're learning about being a man, you're learning about being a woman, and the roles that come with that: husband, wife, mother, father. You're learning about those responsibilities. And you're also watching those who already are mothers and fathers, and you're learning from them. So when it's your time, you're ready. Emotionally, you are ready for it. So sexuality was not just physical. We were not cavemen, okay? That was several million years ago. Yeah, we evolved quite a bit since then. Oh gosh, but this is how it was. Yeah, so that's the ancient way. This it's the sexual education has to be there because that's the future of the nation. So to have a strong nation, you've got to have a healthy sexual education. That's why in the Midwest, the Lakota people were probably, and I'm not saying this out of bias, okay? This is a fact. that we were probably the most powerful nation in the upper north part of North America. And this is one of the reasons why our society was highly emotionally and mentally developed. We had women warriors. And sometimes when we went into battle, sometimes we sent the women first because that scared the shit out of the enemy. They didn't expect that. Because the other tribes don't have that. Well, there's lots of funny stories of going to battle with the Crows and the Crow Indians. And in one of these stories, they decided to send the women warriors in first, just to throw them off, yeah, to surprise them. So here came all these women, coming down the hill, heading for the Crows, and the Crows got scared. They were surprised. They didn't know what to do, so they took off running. Yeah, but see, as the women were running down the hill, the Lakota men were on the other side. So when the women startled the men, the Crow men, the men were running away and they ran right into a Lakota trap. And they were defeated very soundly after that. And these women, they were right in the battle too. They were hanging it. They were coming in from the back. Yeah, they encircled the Crows this way, and the Crows were freaked out. They didn't expect this. It threw their thinking off. They could not follow their strategy, and they lost the battle really, really fast. This kind of thing happened with several tribes. Our women warriors were very valuable, and they fought. Yeah, they didn't stand at the sidelines. They were right in there too. In South Dakota, in the Journey Museum, there's a really old record there, written by a Hoju Lakota man, and he was one of the he was there with Sitting Bull at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Yeah, he was there too, and he wrote this paper, and he wrote it all in Lakota. Uh, our language wasn't written yet, but he developed his own way. Yeah, because he went to boarding school, he learned how to read and write English. So, excuse me, from that knowledge, he wrote the Lakota in phonetically. Yeah, and that so he wrote these stories, and he was talking about when he was a little boy, his his one of his mothers. Remember what I said in the Tioshpai, you have many mothers and many fathers, okay? One of his mothers was in a women's warrior society. And in their camp, they had two women's warrior societies. So he was writing about that. There's your evidence. I saw this paper myself, yeah? And when in 1977, I was a sophomore in high school, and we had a Lakota class, and my aunt taught this class. Uh, what's her name? She's a very sweet lady, and I can't remember her name. It's been many years now. Elsie Slides Off was her name. This was my aunt, but she's old as my grandmother, yeah. But in the Tioshpai way, she's my aunt, and very soft-spoken woman. And she would write to these museums for these things, and she knew about this letter. So she wrote to at that time it was called the Sioux Indian Museum in Rapid City, South Dakota. My mother used to work there before I was born. Yeah, my mother worked at this museum. And my mother knows about this letter too. Yeah. So my auntie Elsie, she wrote to the museum asking for a copy because they're not gonna send the original. Yeah, because it's 100 years old. Yeah, this paper. So they're not gonna send the original. So they made a what do you call it? They didn't have Xerox. Yeah, they did. They had Xerox copy machines in 1977. So they sent her one and a copy, and she let us look at it. Yeah. So I was looking at this and I was like, wow, this is history. This is Lakota history. It's amazing. And in there, we could read what he was writing about. It was a lot of papers. Yeah, he wrote a lot of things, and we saw it. Yeah, we saw it where he says in his camp there were two women warrior societies. They had about 20 women in each group. Yeah, and they went to war. They went to battle. They hunted buffalo, and they were good at it. That's what he said in this letter. He says that. See, this is the kind of thing that America does not want us to know because it shows us as highly developed, more so than America. It's just recently that America has allowed women soldiers to go into combat. Just recently, yeah. That and that see that's you know, 100 years ago, or I should say over 100 years ago, Lakota women were going into battle. They were hunting. Yeah, it's a big difference. So when you look at a society that allows, or that I shouldn't say allows, that's really a bad word. When you look at a society and you see women warriors right along with the men warriors, that really says something advanced. And then you look at everything else that must exist for this to happen. And for this to happen means the society has to be emotionally highly developed. Part of that development includes healthy sexual education. And then when you learn in our society, the families, the marriages only had 3 children, and each child was 2 years apart at least. When you see that kind of thinking, that's advanced. And it shows you that sex was not just physical, that it was emotional and it was spiritual too. That's what's missing in Christianity and other dualistic ideologies. Because in Christianity and other dualistic ideologies, sex is only physical and it only satisfies either, most of the time, just a man. So you have two very different views. So this means the boys and girls were learning about these things. They were learning about what is healthy about this. So they had a very healthy view of sexuality. You see that? I think that's pretty cool. So the roles are not defined by gender. Yeah, the roles were not defined by gender because you had women warriors, you had men cooks. Yeah, you had women hunters, you had men clothes makers. They were just good at it. So that's what they did. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a highly emotional society that can say that. But not all tribes are this way. Yeah, most tribes were not this way. Most tribes, the women do this and the men do that. Most tribes are that way. That's a little bit dualistic there. But I'm not judging them. Okay? I'm not saying we're better. I'm just saying we're different. And I'm just saying we were highly emotionally developed. I'm not saying we're better. Okay? It's important to understand that. I am not saying that we were better. I'm just saying we were more emotionally developed. Okay? So, what's the women's role in ancient society? Whatever she wanted to be. What was the man's role in ancient society? Whatever he wanted to be. There's no set rule on that. Remember what you heard me say this many times on this show, and I'll say it again. In our way, we see seven genders. We don't just see two. See, it's a dualistic society like the Christians that only see two. And these societies, they say, okay, you're a man. That means you must do this. You're a woman, so you must do that. That's your job. See, when a society only sees two genders, this is the way they think. And then they see the man is better. The man is more important. The man can do whatever he wants. The woman has to just accept that. That's her role in life because she fell into temptation in the Garden of Eden when she was given this fruit by this serpent, and this fruit came from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Because of that, the woman must serve her man. See? That is bullshit. So when a tribe says, oh, men must do this and women must do that, I think that if somebody says that today, they probably don't really know their ancient way because they're thinking from a Christian influence because of that brainwashing experience that I told you about on the reservation in the late 1800s, early 1900s. But in the Lakota ancient way, seven genders. Yeah. Sure, the body can be three ways. Okay? The physical body can be three ways. It's either a man or it's a woman. Or the third option. And in this third option, it's people who are born with both the male and female genitalia. They're hermaphrodites. Okay? They have both the male and female private parts. This exists. This is nature. This is not a freak. Okay? This is natural. But in the Christian way, remember what I said, they are dualistic. They say it's only man and woman. So when they see a hermaphrodite, they say, oh, that's a freak. That's an abomination from God. That is from the devil. They are evil. See? The dualistic people only see two parts. They cannot understand or comprehend a third option. But in the Lakota way, we do. There's a man, and then there's a woman, and there's people who have both. They're men and women. Yeah. And some of them, they look more feminine, and others, they look more masculine. But they have both parts. Yeah, this exists. And in the Lakota way, this is natural. This is, there's nothing wrong with this. Remember what I said? The universe teaches us there's always going to be at least three components to everything. So this fits. Man, woman, hermaphrodite. No problem. Okay? So those are the three physical parts of a society, of gender. That's just the physical. But remember, in Lakota Star knowledge, the first concept is reality begins within. So that's inside of you. So the first two are easy, yeah? The men, and they have a mind of a man. Okay? So that's a man. And they have a woman, and she has the mind of a woman. So she's a woman. Now it gets interesting. Now you have, sometimes you have men. The body is a male. It's a man's body, but they have the mind of both the man and woman. That's interesting. Yeah? The physical body of a man, but the mind is both the man and woman. Excuse me. That is really interesting. And then there's the female equivalent. You have a woman who she has the physical body of a woman, but the mind of both the man and woman too. It's four genders there. Now it gets interesting again. Maybe I should have explained this one first. Another gender is when you have a man body, but the mind of a woman. Today there's transgender. Today they call it transgender. The body of a man, the mind of a woman. And then it happens the other way too. Yeah? The body of a woman, but the mind of a man. Six genders. The hermaphrodite one can go any way. That's the seventh one. This is what we had in our society. And this was good. 7 is a sacred number, by the way, in Lakota society. 4 and 7 are sacred numbers. So this is in our creation stories too, by the way. Now, there's a fourth physical gender. Remember I said there's three: male, female, hermaphrodite, okay? The physical part. There's actually a fourth one too, but I'm not going to say what that is. This is really sacred. Yeah, that shouldn't be spoken of in a private, I mean on a radio show. Yeah, it should not be spoken in public. I mean not private. It shouldn't be spoken about in public because this one is really sacred. Yeah, so there is a fourth physical one. It's really interesting. Okay? Okay. So that's the way it works in ancient Lakota society. So look at how it branches like this. Look at how it's really getting interesting. For this to exist requires healthy sexual education. So that's what we had. So when you say, what's the role of a woman? That's a dualistic question. Because there really isn't. Yeah, she can be what she wants to be, depending which of these seven genders is she. Yeah, which of these seven genders is she? So her role could vary. Same thing for the man. It could vary. So it's not black and white in the ancient way. Yeah, it's not black and white. A woman can be whatever she wants to be. Same thing with the man. He can be whatever he wants to be. And look at the seven gender thing that I just explained here. Now you can see that some men were just good at doing women's things, and there's several reasons why. And it's good. These people were not made fun of. These are valuable people. This is this is good because this is the way nature is. Let's look at the seahorse, okay? The seahorse. When a male seahorse and a female seahorse get together, guess who carries the baby? It's the man. It's the man who's pregnant. And people say, "Well, just call him the woman then." But it's not that way because he's a man. That seahorse is a male, but he's the one who gets pregnant. Is there something wrong with that? No, that's nature. So when the Christians say the women should have babies, explain the seahorses. How is it that the male seahorses, are the ones that get pregnant? How do you explain that? That shows you the Bible was created by man. It's not created by angels, or it didn't come from some heaven or anything like that. It was written by men who were stupid and didn't know shit about the sea. You see that? There's your evidence. That breaks the Christian argument. The seahorses break the Christian argument. And there is evidence too of animals that are gay. This exists. This really exists. Is that wrong? No, it's not. It's nature. So Christians, they don't know everything, but they think they do. Remember what I said yesterday? Reality, the universe says there's three parts at least to everything. Sometimes there's four, okay, but there's always going to be at least three. What Christians and dualistic people do is they can only see two. Yeah, from those three pieces, they only see two. They can't see the third one. This is why Indians today don't understand that we're not matriarchal, we're not patriarchal, we're something else. They don't understand, they cannot comprehend that there is a third option. So today's Indians argue with each other, saying, "Oh, we're patriarchal." No, we're not. We're matriarchal. When the truth is, we're the third one. But they don't understand that. They can't comprehend that because they're dualistic. They only see two of the three pieces of reality. And then when they get strong in this thinking, they only accept one. So really, they're rejecting two pieces and only accepting one piece of reality. That's one third. One third equals 33%. That means they only accept 33% of reality. And if something doesn't fit with their view, then they say it's from Satan. It's from the devil. It's evil. And today's Indians think the same way. So you have today's Indians who make fun of gay people. They make fun of transgender people. See, in our ancient society, this is normal. But today's Indians make fun of them. I was very fortunate to live next door to a family that the two youngest, one was a boy and one is a girl. It's really interesting to watch these two. I'm not going to say their names because I don't want to embarrass them. One might be listening, and I don't want to embarrass him. But this is a good thing. It was really interesting. Yeah, the guy turned out to be gay, and the girl turned out to be lesbian. A brother and sister. So cool. I really think that's cool. Because in the ancient Lakota way, when you have a child like this, it's special because they're highly esteemed. It's an honor to receive your name from somebody like this. And this family had two. That's amazing. That is one blessed family. See, that's the traditional way. But today's modern Indians, today's Lakota people, they make fun of them. See, that shows you we don't think like our ancestors anymore. We think like the Christians. Yeah. So today's Indians, they say a man must do this and a woman must do that. And if a man wants to do a woman's things, well, there's something wrong with that man. He has a mental illness. He should be in a mental institution because there's something wrong with him. That's Christian thinking. That's dualistic thinking. But that is not our ancient way. In our ancient way, this is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful. It's part of nature. This happens in nature. This is reality. So that goes to show you that dualistic people, which includes Christian and other religious people, are not really living in reality. Because remember, they only accept 33% of reality. Yeah. So the traditional, ancient roles of a man and woman don't really exist. You do what you're good at. Whatever you're good at, that's what you do. Of course, only the women can get pregnant. That's true. But the man is a part of that process, which means he has a responsibility. Yeah? He has a responsibility to the children too. So he has to teach them too. It's not just a woman's job. That's the ancient way. And they called us heathens. And they called us savages. And they called us bloodthirsty. Who's really civilized here? See what I mean? That's a good question. Yeah, I really like that question. This French lady, her and I were just goofing around, yeah, and then and then I said, "Well, if you're so smart, tell me what I should talk about," and she did, yeah. She put me in my place. That's really good. Yeah, I think I'll get into another argument with her tomorrow, so we can have another good topic. So if you like tonight's show, you can thank Cherie for that. Yes, this is coming from a question from her. It's I really enjoyed this one. This is a really good topic. I really thank thank you, Cherie, very much. Merci beaucoup, 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 très, très, très fort.